Once upon a time in the bustling city of Lagos, there was a street many had passed through but few remembered. Tucked just behind the busy markets and yellow buses, hidden where shadows lingered longer than they should, was a quiet little corner called Hill Cross. And on that street was a house, and inside that house was a room. And into that room walked a young woman named Vanessa, searching for peace but walking into something else entirely. Vanessa was a fashion designer, fresh out of a bad breakup and tired of crashing at friends' places. She needed her own space, something quiet, something cheap, somewhere to start again. That's when she saw the sign outside the Hillcross building, "Room to let, inquire within." It looked old, forgotten. Peeling cream paint, rusted railings. But still, something about it called to her, like it had been waiting. She pushed the gate open and met Mr. Thomas. He was tall, thin, with tired eyes and a limp in his left leg. His smile was soft but wrong somehow, too cold. "You're lucky," he said. That room just became free. He didn't ask for ID, didn't check references, didn't care where she worked. Just handed her the key and took half the rent in cash. It was strange, but Vanessa took it as a blessing. New city, new room, new chapter. The apartment was small, a wardrobe, a cracked mirror on the wall, but it was hers. She unpacked her bags the next day, her sewing machine, pinned her sketches, even danced a little when her playlist hit just right. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like freedom, at least for a while. Then the little things started. The window, for example. She always locked it tight before bed, but every morning it was open, just a crack, barely noticeable. At first she blamed the wind, then faulty hinges, until she started feeling it. That presence, the sense that someone was watching her, especially at night, especially when she undressed. She stopped changing with the lights on, started wearing bigger clothes, pulled the curtains shut and pinned them closed. But it didn't help. The feeling stayed. One night, around 2 a.m., she was still sewing, desperate to stay busy, to ignore the gnawing fear building in her chest. Then she heard it. Creak! That unmistakable sound, the window nudging open on its own. She froze, turned slowly. The curtain fluttered. A shadow. Gone before she fully looked. She ran to the window, yanked it open, nothing. But her heartbeat wouldn't settle, because something had been there. She was sure of it. The next morning, she mentioned it to a neighbor, a guy named Daniel who lived in the back flat. He chuckled nervously. "That room? You're the third girl to rent it this year." She blinked. "What happened to the others?" He shrugged. "They just left." Then he walked away, quickly, and never spoke to her again. Things got worse after that. She lost time, woke up disoriented, forgot whether she'd eaten, whether it was day or night. Her skin dulled, her smile faded. She barely recognized herself in the mirror anymore. She dreamed of Mr. Thomas, standing over her, hands dark with ash, mouth moving with no sound, and behind him, rows of windows, eyes watching through everyone. She tried to leave, packed a small bag, called a ride, made it to the front gate. Then the world tilted, her knees buckled, darkness. When she opened her eyes, she was back in bed, sweating, confused, weak. And there was Mr. Thomas, standing in the corner like he'd never moved. "You fainted," he said softly. "You must rest." He brushed her forehead. His hand was like ice. Vanessa didn't try to leave again, until Claire came. Claire was her childhood friend, smart, fierce, prayerful, the kind of woman who could smell a lie through a phone call. She showed up one Saturday morning, uninvited but deeply welcome, tote bag on her arm, Bible in hand, eyes already scanning the room. She hugged Vanessa, stepped back and said, "This place feels wrong." She walked around slowly, touched the walls, paused near the mirror, listened to something Vanessa couldn't hear. That night Claire stayed over. She didn't sleep. She placed oil on the windows, prayed in whispers, sat by the door like a guard. And at 3 or 7 a.m., it happened. The window creaked open. Claire sat up and saw him, Mr. Thomas, standing in the shadows just outside the glass, smiling, his face too still, his eyes too wide. Claire didn't scream. She walked to the window, whispered a prayer, and slammed it shut. Mr. Thomas didn't move. He just licked his lips and whispered, "She's mine." After that night, nothing was the same. Claire didn't tell Vanessa what she saw. Not at first. She made breakfast like normal, smiled, laughed, but her eyes kept drifting to the window, to the walls, to the shadows that clung to the corners of the room. Finally, as they sipped tea, she said it. "You can't stay here." Vanessa blinked. "Claire, I've tried. I can't leave." "I know," Claire cut in. "That's because you're not just living in this apartment. You're bound to it." Vanessa stared at her. Claire continued. "He's using something, a charm, a spell, something that ties your spirit to this place. That's why you feel weak. That's why time slips. Why you can't move forward. You're caught in something ancient." Vanessa laughed. It was dry, nervous. "This isn't a Nollywood movie, Claire." But Claire didn't laugh. "It was, because it's real." Later that evening, Claire stepped outside to make a call. She called her pastor, whispered under her breath, careful not to draw attention. She explained the signs, the behavior, the window, the dreams. His voice was low, serious. "You're dealing with a binding ritual. The landlord has turned that room into a spiritual trap, a vessel. And the girl inside, her soul is slowly being consumed. You must be careful. Breaking this kind of bondage can be dangerous, violent even." Claire's hand trembled. "What do I do?" "You'll need to cleanse the space, but first you need to find the source. The object he used to bind her is hidden somewhere close. Until it's destroyed, she will never be free." Claire returned inside. Vanessa was lying on the bed, eyes half closed as if in a trance. "Vanessa?" she said softly. No answer. "Vanessa?" Her friend's lips parted slightly. "He's watching." Claire's heart skipped. She moved closer, gently shook her. "Wake up! Wake up!" Vanessa blinked rapidly, sat up, confused and pale. I think I dozed off." Claire knew better. That night, Claire waited for Vanessa to sleep. Then she began to search. She started with the wardrobe. Nothing. Checked beneath the bed. Just dust. She looked inside every drawer, behind every curtain, under the sink, even lifted the floor rug. Then she moved to the cracked mirror. She ran her fingers along the edges. Paused. Something felt loose. She pressed. Click. A small panel opened behind the mirror frame. Inside was a pouch. She pulled it out gently. It was old, leather, stiff with age. She opened it and nearly dropped it. Inside were strands of Vanessa's hair, folded fabric from one of her dresses, and a small wooden carving shaped like a woman, faceless but clearly meant to represent her. Claire's chest tightened. This is it. As she turned to call out to Vanessa, the room shifted. The lights flickered, the air grew thick, and then, bang! The door slammed shut behind her. The windows locked on their own. The mirror cracked straight down the middle, and in the reflection, Claire saw him, Mr. Thomas, standing behind her, even though no one was there. His voice echoed inside the walls. "Put it back." Claire gripped the pouch tighter. Not a chance. The room began to tremble. Whispers filled the air. Dozens of voices, some laughing, some crying, all clawing at the edges of reality. Vanessa screamed from the bed. Claire rushed over, grabbed her hand. "Wake up! Vanessa, wake up!" Vanessa's body began to convulse. "He's inside! He's inside me!" Claire dropped to her knees. "God of light, expose every darkness in this place." She threw the pouch to the floor and emptied its contents. The wooden carving rolled forwards and stopped at the edge of the rug. The floor beneath it began to smoke. Claire didn't hesitate. She reached into her tote bag, grabbed her small bottle of anointing oil and poured it over the carving. "Let every stronghold be broken in the name of Jesus." Crack! The lights burst. The walls groaned. The carving caught fire. Small blue flames that didn't burn the rug but pulsed with power. Then, silence. Complete, unnatural. And then, a scream. From outside, Claire rushed to the window. Mr. Thomas was on the ground outside the house, clawing at his chest, gasping for breath, eyes wide in panic. Vanessa opened her eyes. What happened? Claire held her tightly. You're free! Freedom is never that simple. For the first time in months, Vanessa slept in a bed that didn't whisper to her. She ate food that didn't taste like ash. She stood in the sun and felt warmth instead of weight. But peace? Peace didn't come. She would wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, hearing voices, seeing shadows move across the wall, shadows that didn't belong to her. She began scratching her arms unconsciously, an itch, a pull, as if her body was still connected to the house. Claire noticed. You're still linked, she said softly. Even if the charm is broken, the house remembers. They stayed at the guest house for 2 nights. On the third, Claire had a dream so vivid she could smell the burning oil. She was standing outside the apartment. Everything was on fire, but not consumed. Blue flames licked the walls, the windows, the ground. And then she saw them, the other girls, standing in the house, silent, watching, their eyes hollow, their hands pressed to the glass. One by one they turned to her and whispered, "We're still here." Claire woke up gasping. She didn't wait. By dawn she told Vanessa they had to go back. "No," Vanessa said instantly. "I can't step into that place again." "We're not going back for you," Claire said. We're going back for them." Vanessa blinked. "Who?" "The others. The ones who never left." They arrived at Star Street just before noon. The house looked exactly the same, untouched, unbothered. But something had changed. There was police tape across the gates, old, faded, like it had been placed there years ago and never removed. Claire stepped over it. Vanessa hesitated. "This feels wrong." "It is wrong," Claire said. That's why we have to finish it." Inside, the apartment was still. Too still. No dust, no insects, no decay. It was like time stopped the moment they left. Vanessa's old cup was still on the table. The fan still stood in the corner. The mirror was whole again. Claire walked slowly, letting her fingers graze the wall. Then she paused. There were names carved faintly into the paint. She leaned closer. Kemi, Ada, Ruth, Tonia. Dozens of names, all etched by hand. "These are the girls," Claire whispered. "The ones Daniel mentioned. The ones who just left." Vanessa stared. "They didn't leave," Claire nodded. "They were taken." Suddenly the door creaked. They both turned. Mr. Thomas was standing in the hallway. But something was different. His body was there. But his eyes, they were empty, like something else was using him. He stepped forward. Claire pulled Vanessa behind her. "You don't belong here anymore," she said. He smiled. "Neither do they." And then he pointed to the mirror. The mirror shimmered, flickered, and then showed something else. Not their reflection, but a room filled with girls, eyes vacant, souls trapped, hands pressed to glass. Vanessa gasped. "They're inside." Claire stepped forward. "How do we free them?" Mr. Thomas tilted his head. "You can't. The house chose them, just like it chose her." He looked at Vanessa. She felt it, that cold pull at her chest. She was supposed to be the last. Claire's voice trembled with rage. "Then let her be the last. It ends today." Claire pulled out a folded cloth from her bag. Inside was a small wooden cross, soaked in oil, wrapped in red thread. She had prepared for this. She faced the mirror. "Let every door you've sealed be broken." The mirror cracked. "Let every name you've taken be released." It shattered. "Let every soul be restored." Boom! A wind burst through the room. Violent, screaming, unnatural. The names on the wall glowed bright red, then burned away. The mirror collapsed into black ash. And the screams? They filled the room, not of pain, but of release. Hundreds of voices, crying, laughing, sobbing. Vanessa fell to her knees, clutching her chest. She felt it, the bond breaking, inside her, around her. Mr. Thomas howled, not in rage but in fear. His body slumped. His spirit, the thing wearing him, fled. When it ended, the house went quiet. This time the silence felt different, like something had been lifted, like rest. Claire helped Vanessa up. They stood together in the ruins of a cursed room, and for the first time, there was peace. As they left, Vanessa turned back one last time. The apartment looked older now, worn, like it had finally accepted what it was. Do you think it's really over? She asked. Claire exhaled. For the girls, yes. For him, maybe. But for you? She paused. You need to stay prayed up. Some bindings don't end in one lifetime. Some things don't end. They wait. A week passed. Vanessa moved into a new apartment on the mainland. Light-filled, noisy, full of life. Claire visited every other day just to be sure. The nightmares had stopped. The mirror in her new room showed only what it was supposed to. Everything felt normal again, almost, until the call came. It was Claire. Her voice low, urgent. Vanessa, someone's moved into the house. Vanessa froze. What house? Star Street. She hadn't said the name in days. She'd buried it, tried to forget it existed. Who would? A girl, young, alone, just like you. Claire went there that evening, alone. She stood across the road watching. The lights were on, curtains swaying, that same strange stillness, like the air hadn't moved in decades. She texted Vanessa. It's still alive. Inside the house, Lara, the new tenant, was unpacking. She didn't feel anything strange. Not yet. The landlord had been warm, smiling, different face, but same eyes. She didn't know the history, didn't know the screams that still lived in the walls, didn't know the souls that were freed only days before. She just liked the price, the peace, the view. Meanwhile, Vanessa couldn't sleep. She sat up in bed sweating. Her chest felt heavy, like someone was sitting on it, watching her. She looked at the mirror across the room, still normal. She walked toward it, slowly. Her reflection blinked. She didn't. She froze. Then it whispered, "He's back." She screamed. Claire was there within minutes. They prayed, anointed the mirror, burned incense and oil and every candle they had. But the message had been clear. The evil hadn't died. It had only moved. They went back to Star Street the next morning. Lara wasn't home. Claire walked up to the building, pressed her palm against the gate. Vanessa stood behind her, silent. The metal burned. Claire pulled her hand back. The house was feeding again. "He's not done," Claire said. "There's still a piece of the ritual left behind. Something we missed." "Where?" Vanessa asked. "We destroyed the charm, burned the doll, freed the girls." Claire shook her head. "Yes, but something is still anchoring him here. The last thread." That night, Claire returned with tools. Vanessa didn't come. She couldn't. Claire entered the apartment alone. The new tenant had left the door open. The place looked the same, except now there were small cracks in the ceiling, whispers hiding behind running taps, shadows too thick for the light bulbs to chase away. She walked to the mirror. There was no reflection, just black. She placed her hand on it, and a hand reached back from the other side. Not hers. She didn't scream. She prayed, and then she began to dig, behind the wardrobe, beneath the floorboard, into the wall near the kitchen sink, and that's when she found it. A diary, old, molded, wrapped in red cloth. She opened it. It was written in blood. Page after page, rituals, names, symbols, and at the very end, a message. The binding is eternal, until the one who was chosen first returns. Claire's breath caught. Chosen first? She flipped through the earlier pages. Dozens of names scratched in ink, but the very first name carved into the leather cover was Oja Vanessa. The last thread wasn't an object, it was her. The apartment wasn't just feeding on her, it had been built for her. The first soul, the original offering. And even though she walked away, part of her never did. Claire left the house, barely breathing. She called Vanessa. "It's you." "What do you mean?" "You're the last thread. You're the only way to end this, fully." "Then what do we do?" Vanessa asked. Claire's voice cracked. "You have to go back, one more time." The next evening they returned together. The air was thick. The building groaned. The house knew. Vanessa walked to the center of the room. She didn't need light, didn't need to speak. She felt where the energy pulsed the strongest. Beneath the floor where her bed used to be, she knelt, closed her eyes, and said, "You don't owe me anymore." She pressed her palm to the ground. "Every soul you've stolen, I release them." The room shook. The walls cracked. Wind swelled from inside the apartment, like it was exhaling after years of holding its breath. "I was your first," she whispered, "but I'll be your last." Claire poured the oil, lit the fire. The room burst in blue flame. Not destruction, cleansing. The final scream echoed one last time, then silence. The house burned, but the city never noticed. It was reported as an electrical accident. The landlord was never seen again. Vanessa and Claire never spoke of it in full. But from that day forward, Star Street was never rented again. The lot remains empty. Grass grows over it. Even Google Maps won't load the pin correctly. Some say it's just superstition, but Vanessa knows better. The last thread was cut, and now she sleeps through the night,